We are almost done. That's me, Mitzi, time finder. And you know what? I have so many people say to me that I must have been born organized. And when anyone says that to me, I laugh, because my father put a sign on my bedroom door. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Welcome to the gates of hell. I didn't have a place for everything except the floor. I was called a slob, or I was lazy, so I was told. When I was 7, I ran away from home because I didn't want to make my bed. And you know what? With my baby carriage, I walked 4 miles across town to my babysitter's house. And I had the police, my neighbors, and everybody looking for me because the curly-headed little girl didn't want to make her bed. And you know what? To this day, I don't like making my bed, so I have a comforter. Well, having a messy and disorganized room was one thing, but the problem extended even beyond that and beyond the gates of hell. I actually had a bigger obstacle to overcome. I always waited until the last minute to do my homework. I was a good student, but I had difficulty reading and struggled with comprehension. I didn't know how to approach homework, to break my assignments down into small, bite-sized, doable pieces, or to plan how I would get any of my projects done. I didn't know these important life skills, and I was not taught. My philosophy was, the longer I could hold off doing it, the better. And I was wrong. Merlin Olsen, who was a football player and sports commentator and actor, he said it really profoundly. He said, one of life's most painful moments comes when we must admit that we didn't do our homework, that we are not prepared. I struggled and had many painful moments. But when I went off to college, all of a sudden, I had a clean, fresh start. I was starting anew. I didn't have a lot of stuff. I could organize my dorm room, and I rethought my approach to work, to my schoolwork. And I created some new habits, and all of a sudden, you know what? I felt good because I was organized. I wasn't lazy, and I wasn't a slob. When I started Time Finder in 1989, when I was about 3, my vision was, and still is, to give my clients a fresh, clean start, just as I had when I went to college, to feel the joy that I felt being organized and getting things done in a less stressful way. But early on in my Time Finder mission, like so many of us, I faced some difficult times. My mother had complications from a car accident and a head injury. She developed a subdural hematoma and then had surgery that created a brain bleed. At the same time, my then boyfriend, who is now my husband, his father was at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle having a bone marrow transplant. And my mother was in ICU, his father was in Seattle, and then Stu got the call that he needed to go out to Seattle because things weren't going very well. So he went out there and he didn't really get to speak to his dad, and his dad passed away. My mother, she didn't pass away right away. It was 2.5 years later. And we were in and out of hospitals, rehabs, SNFs, skilled nursing facilities, you name it. Now, I learned an awful lot during that time. I had learned that as difficult as it was, I needed to remain focused, not only on my business, which was still pretty new, but on insurance, legal stuff, the house, things that mattered to my dad and to my mom. And I needed to learn to be an advocate for my mom, who didn't have a voice anymore. I think that's why I love Parenting 2.0, because everyone in this room is an advocate for someone who doesn't have a voice quite yet or has an emerging voice. That's why we're all so special. We are advocates, and we have an important mission. I developed a stronger compassion for those facing life's obstacles and that are distracted during the difficult times of their lives as I was working with my clients. But I wouldn't let anyone have a pity party. I didn't have pity parties. I wouldn't let my friends pity me, and I'm not going to pity anybody. My philosophy is that we take steps and we take action. We move forward one tiny step at a time, and we get someplace. Fast forward. A couple of years ago, when I was developing a webinar for my corporate clients, because I didn't know how to do a webinar and I lost business when I had done a proposal. This woman I had met with so many times, she said, "We're not going to hire you to do workshops. You need to learn how to do a webinar. But because you don't know how to do a webinar, we can't hire you." So I had to learn how to do a webinar. I am somewhat technology challenged. My son will tell you that as I'm trying to, and I struggle with my new smartphone. He knows how to do everything. So I was learning how to do a webinar, and I asked my son Jonathan to rehearse my webinar with me. He would be the participant and sit in the bedroom on his computer, and I would be in my office delivering the program to him. He was 10. So here I go with my webinar, and he dials in, and we do the whole thing technologically correct because I now subscribe to GoToWebinars. But halfway through the webinar, Jonathan, he knocks on my office door. He says, "Mommy, I want to run your webinar. You go into my room, and I'll be in your office." And I said, okay. So I went into his room, and he took the helm at my computer. As he began his presentation, my presentation, I was amused and thought, oh, how cute is he? He's my son. He's 10, and he's doing a webinar. But as we got further into it, he started using examples about distractions, just as I did. Only his examples of distractions were kid examples, like kids rolling on the rug in school, or kids talking when the teacher's talking, when he's trying to do his schoolwork, all those kinds of things. And as he continued, my amusement suddenly became an aha moment. Could my webinar be designed for students? Is this something that parents would be interested in for their kids? The answer seemed yes when I started talking to parents. Subsequently, I started designing programs offering coaching and classes for students. I have, in reality, been launching a new business. My hope is that children can learn the life skills of organization and planning so that they will not know the pain that I knew growing up from being unprepared. My hope is that parents, or that as parents, we can make it easier for our kids to be able to successfully learn these life skills of organizing and planning. But it's so difficult when our kids are being overscheduled, overcalendared, and they don't have time just to be, to just have some fun, to know what it's like to be unstructured, that we're not all running around from place to place, that we can be in those moments that we've all been talking about today. But as parents, we need to really take a look at what are we doing? What are we committing ourselves and our kids to? We have choices. We don't have to be the do-everything family. We can be the do-just-some-things family. So my hope is that parents can make it easier for their kids, because kids can learn the life skills, but if parents aren't there to help and give support and to work the calendar with them, they're only going to get halfway there. So I am realizing as I continue on my journey, this newer journey, that working with students isn't enough. Parents need to be active in learning these skills with their children. And then these life skills will be with our children wherever their dreams take them. So I thank you.